Well, here we go with ShrimpNet number 12. Thanks for listening or watching, as usual, here with Joel and myself. We have the Thinking Woman's board member to discuss all of the on-field activities. For obvious reasons, we will not be discussing any of the off-field dramas, which are currently being ironed out. So it's a welcome to James Wakefield. James, lovely to have you back from North Carolina, it was last week, wasn't it? That was a good excuse not coming on. How was it?
Bang. Thanks, Freez. Nice to see you back.
So where do we start? Well, obviously the usual thing, Wimbledon last week. That's possibly, and most people I spoke to after the game, that was one of the strangest games I have seen in a long time. We actually played pretty well for 16 minutes. And for 74 minutes, we're probably second best and won 4-1. Discuss, Joel.
Yeah, it was a weird, like you say, it was a pretty weird game. I thought we started quite brightly for the first 15 or so. I think
seconds, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, we've had quite a good chance in the first half. I think Slew's had one that's pretty much been cleared off the line. And that was I think that probably could have been a penalty as well. I think Mellon's been dragged over.
And then that's a fair point, yeah.
And he's had an effort, it's been kind of cleared just before I think it's cleared just before it got to the keeper. But you know, I think we had a decent little opening spell, and then just as the half went on, it felt like Wimbledon just got a bit sharper. They grew into the game. They've not been the best of form recently, but they've got a very good away record this season. They were unbeaten on the road, so and you can kind of see they were putting some decent moves together. They were creating a few chances, and obviously it kind of culminates in that one that Al Hadmi's had just right on half time. That Sini's done amazingly to clear off the line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite interesting actually. Hamady, he's missed. I thought he looked a good play, good threat, set up their goal in the second half. But he's actually also missed, I think, Fotmob have him down. I can't remember if he's top of the league but he's up there for big chances missed. And he's vastly underperformed. He's kind of, is what you'd expect him to kind of have racked up in terms of goals. So, probably quite a good person for that particular chance to fall to for us, really. But then the flip side, you got to say Joel Senior's made an absolutely incredible block, and everybody likes to go on about fine margins in football, and I guess that's kind of one, really, isn't it? Joel Senior makes that block right on half time.
Yeah, 50 seconds after it,
pretty much, yeah. And we come straight out in the second half, and I don't know if maybe like there'd been a bit of a talk about the last kind of how the first half of it and going towards the back end of it. But we started obviously very, very aggressively. Put one over the top for Slew. He slid it in behind for Mellon. He's done fantastically well around the keeper, and then just cutting the ball back across goal. But as he's doing it, obviously the Wimbledon players are sliding in. And they both it's a lovely finish. It's a lovely tight finish. Maybe a little bit fortunate that the Wimbledon players didn't quite grab it.
You could not. You watch it again, and at the time I thought that's gone through. The ball slid in, and it's gone through both of his legs. He's megged two of them, and it's gone rolled in the corner. And I still don't know how he's done it because I'm watching it again, going, I don't know how they haven't got that. One goes up, he lifts his leg, and it goes under his leg and up above his other leg, and the other guy slides in, and it's almost like his legs lift up and it goes underneath him, and I'm like,
I think that's the thing when you kind of cut it back across the defenders and their momentum's taking them all that way. They're just going to overshoot the ball. Or I've seen at least one of them it's gone through the legs. So yeah, and then just from there we just kind of took the initiative, and I know
Joel Senior could have had a pen, couldn't he?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I kind of almost, not quite as badly as the iPhone as the camera for the highlights, but I almost missed the goal because I was too busy having a bit of a shout about the penalty because I thought it should have been the penalty on Joel Senior, but obviously it's kind of ricocheted through, and
their keepers decided it was probably going to be a penalty, so I'll smash it against somebody. I can't. The player that came off as well, Joe Lewis. I don't know what he's doing with his shorts. Discuss his shorts, shorts. I was going to come to that. That was going to be James's.
To be honest, he's just not got the thighs for it. He's not got Michael Antonio size thighs. If you've got Michael Antonio size thighs, then great, go for it. But he just hasn't. So I think it was he deserved to have the own goal come off him. To be honest,
do you think they put the wrong kit in and he had Wimbledon's under 12 shorts there?
Well, I did a little bit of research. It's a thing he does.
Is it?
Every week,
Why,
yeah.
where's budgie smugglers?
Yeah, he kind of rolls his shorts up like Antonio, but like I'm just like, you just not got the thighs for that fella. But yeah, but like I think
Good finish.
yeah, good finish. Yeah. Well, things we speak about like luck and rubbing the green and things going your way, and there's an element of that. But I think the reason why we didn't have these moments happen to us last season is quite frankly because we weren't in the opposition box very often. And when we this season when we're kind of getting into the opposition's box, we were
Yeah.
making good headway that half. We got into the area. Joel Senior made a dangerous run. It's bubbled through, and we've got a goal from it. And then obviously finally the penalty. I didn't actually think I thought it was a little bit of a nudge in the back at first, but obviously upon seeing the replays, nicked his standing leg as he's got JJ standing leg he's on the shoot, and it's very nice now having a penalty taker who is incredibly assured. In my opinion, we don't always have those. We haven't always had those at the club, and even when you've got good strikers of the ball like Cole Stockton, he's not been a particularly good penalty taker. Wimbledon get one back, bit of a resurgence, but then
Faz cleared one off the line.
Wasn't that against Barrow?
No, Faz cleared off the line. He headed it off the line.
Did he? Oh, blimey.
Yeah, he did. Faz cleared one off the line. I wrote it down and I was like, I'll just make notes. And I'm like, Faz cleared one off the line. And that was at 3-0. And then they actually scored.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's the thing. They had a bit of pressure, but we've done well to ride it. And then just very nice to kind of cap it off at the end, really, with Mellon getting his hat trick. And it was a lovely, lovely move. It was a great touch from Jordan Slew to knock it down the line.
Slewy, a couple of his balls, fantastic. That day.
Yeah, I thought it was his first touch for that one to pop it past their right back and then just Max Melbourne drive and run forward. So, and then we kind of created the chances for him to Melbourne. He's got his hat trick. So it's one of those where like we've not been on top throughout the whole game, but the spells that we did have on top, we were really, really devastating. And going back to kind of what Jordan Slew said last week on the podcast, it's about punishing teams, and when you go one goal ahead, making sure you follow that up with the kind of second and third and fourth goal or whatever, and you make the most of that period of dominance. And it was, I think it very much was that when we had periods of dominance in the game, you really, really made the most of them and really punished Wimbledon. That's kind of what's helped us come out on top there.
And just personally, I thought Jordan Slew was probably man of the match, but when Mellon gets his hat trick, you can't not give him it, can you?
No,
but Jordan Slew was fantastic, and he was fantastic the week before. And he was, to be honest, he was probably our best player against Barrow on Tuesday night. But anyway, it's a strange one, James. It was a strange game, and when it comes down to it, we'll probably play. We have played worse than that and won. Tranmere the week before, for instance. But some of our football was scintillated in that 16 minutes. But I mean, Wimbledon looked a fairly decent side. It's as Joel's already said, their away record was pretty good. Shoving forward past them was pretty good, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I mean they've been good defensively, and their form's been solid all season. It's dipped off a bit since the beginning. I think we deserve to win it. We created 4 big chances and didn't score all of them. And they created 1 and scored it, and that's that really. Shout out, as you both have said, to both Senior for that clearance and his general level of performance, and also Jordan Slew. I think Jordan Slew's been our best player going back as far as Colchester, when he only really got taken off along with Blocko because there needed to be a tactical switch. But he's been creating chances and cutting inside people and having decent shots now for weeks. It's really, really good to see. But yeah, I think we were good for 2 goals. They were maybe good for more than 1. We were just that much more ruthless, and the quality of the chances we created was really high. I also think that we were up comfortably until they scored their goal, and then you maybe have a little bit of a squeaky bum time. But we didn't bring a single sub on until literally the last few minutes. So I do think we had a gear in us if we'd needed one, and if we hadn't been more comfortable in that second half, because they didn't actually create that much in the second half. They created more in the first half than they did in the second. So I think we probably had an extra gear in us. We just didn't need to use it. I thought it was a fair result, maybe a good scoreline rather than the right scoreline, but the result was fair. It was just created better chances.
And it's a fair point you make, because it was something I was going to close the sort of Wombles discussion on, was the fact that we were really down to the bare bones squad-wise. So it was like the starting 11 virtually picked itself because of injuries and suspensions, didn't it?
Yeah, completely. You know, everybody knows we've got a small squad, and through suspensions and injuries, it's been tested a bit of late. Thankfully, it's now coming back together quite quickly, which is good. But yeah, that was a difficult team, and had we lost, then you could very easily have said, well, you know, it's been a very disrupted squad, and you know, people have had to play a lot of minutes, but. Yeah, it's good to see. I think that's the hallmark of a Derek team when it settles into its stride. Everybody comes in and does a job, no matter whether they might have been considered not quite starting 11 a few weeks before. And as we've seen now for a couple of 2.5 seasons, players come in and do a good job, and they get to keep the opportunity to play. Which is, I think, a massively powerful thing. Nobody gets picked on the strength of their name or how they were playing before they dropped out of the first 11, and therefore everybody's playing to keep their place in the team.
So moving on to Barrow on Tuesday night, completely different kettle of ball games. Pitch, it had rained really, really heavily around the bay. The pitch was, for the first 20 minutes, I thought Tom Bloxham had slippers on because he just couldn't stand up, trap it, or do anything. Senior was probably lucky not to get sent off, I think. There was probably a situation there where he got a yellow and then not that long after could have had another yellow. So he got away with that one. And I think it was right hooking him at half time. But the nearest we got probably was Jan Songo hitting the glass. The glass in the home end behind the goal, and the second nearest was Jacob Beddoe kicking the ball out of the ground in the 95th minute to try and get play going. I think we look back now, and it's easy to say, Joel, but that sort of performance we've managed to, shall we say, not perform as well as we should have, really, or capable of at Sutton and won, Tranmere at home and won. And perhaps for large periods of the Wimbledon game, expended a lot of energy chasing the ball. And no real surprise, Barrow played the conditions really, really well. They also played the ref very cleverly with some fantastic dark arts, and fair play to them for doing it. You know, I can't complain when we do it, so we can't complain when Barrow do it. Some quite strange refereeing decisions, which I'll come to later on, but a disappointing way to end that 8-game unbeaten run, Joel.
Yeah, I mean, Barrow, another side who were unbeaten at home all season like ourselves, and it was going to be a bit of a tough place to go. And then when you've got the weather conditions like that, swirling it about, it becomes quite hard to play a proper game of football. And it was a rubbish watch. It was a dull game. It was a really dull game, and we created virtually nothing. Barrow created a little bit more, but not much. And yeah, it was just one of those where horrible. I thought it was scrappy. It was fairly even, but just really scrappy in the first half. And then they've managed to latch onto a knockdown. Dom Telford's popped it away, and they've gotten the lead. And I think from there, I think they took the momentum quite well going into the second half. And the second half, they started quite strongly. It's kind of culminated in, I think, the other kind of main chance that in the game, which is the one that Faz has cleared off the line, which is the one I got confused about before. And that's the one that Faz has cleared off the line. So, and then it was interesting watching how we tried to deal with that. We changed to 3-5-2, which I thought.
Well, actually, he went 3-4-2-1 because he put Mayer and JJ sort of just behind Mellon. So he tried 3-4-2-1.
Yeah, that kind of 3-4-2-1,
and then he went 3-5-2. So yeah,
that kind of 3-4-2-1. I think what it's done is having that back three helps stop their front two.
Yeah,
because it's given us an extra centre back to deal with them, and they were causing us a bit of trouble at the start of the second half. So it's helped deal with that, but then I think it's kind of moving to that back three against their back three. You start to become relatively well matched all over the pitch, and I thought they found it quite easy once we switched into that shape to marshal how we tried to play the ball out from the back into midfield, and it kind of took the edge of our attack. So
Yeah, very
We
much so.
nullified their strikers, but it also, I thought, took a bit of the sting out of our. Well, I know we hadn't had much threats so far in the game. It took what little threat we had. That just kind of bled even further out. So it's it's one of those where the old phrase about tactics being a blanket that's always a little bit too short. You've either got your kind of chest and your chest covered and your feet exposed, or your feet covered and your chest exposed, and it was one of those where it's not quite worked out. But look, I think they like Barrow aren't a bad side. They've got a good home record. They've got one of the best defensive records in the division. You can see they were organised. They were hard to break down. Even before we scored, before they got the lead and had something to hold on to. We weren't creating much against them. And yeah, I thought, like you say, ref bit poor. Nothing majorly horribly wrong. Just
no. I wasn't blaming the ref. We were crap.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was a nice ref bit poor, like you say, just inconsistent with his decisions. But is what it is at this level. But yeah, we've not created much. I think part of it you got to take on the chin and say, it's just some games you don't play as well, and that's what happens. But you know what? We've had an 8-game unbeaten run. We've won a few other battles as well, but it's come to an end, unfortunately. But we still put ourselves in a really good position, and it's going to go. You don't want to say if it's going to come to an end. That probably was a place that it could have happened because it's a derby and everything. At the same time, it is a side who are really gnarly in defence and horrible conditions, who are also in being at home. So, yeah, it's one of those, and hopefully we can just bounce back over the next 2 games.
And it turned out, James, that the banner that they put up came true. Nightmare on Holker Street.
I suppose fair play. I know there was a bit of stick online for that, but actually, despite the message and everybody's thoughts on everything, I don't mind it when fans.
No, I don't. It's banter, isn't it? It's banter. Yeah.
And the banter that follows it is also okay. There was nothing malicious about it. Joel said it all there, but fundamentally, you've got to give credit to Barrow. They played the conditions better. For all of the other clubs, not Barrow's opinion of Morecambe in League 2, we actually don't play Route 1 very effectively. We don't have the big man up front to do it, and we actually play quick down the wings. And when it's that wet, there's been that much rain, moving it quick down the wings is really difficult. And they played Route 1 twice and scored one and nearly scored another. And you just got to give credit to them.
You have. You're right. And I have no complaints. Too many people had off days.
Perhaps, but you can have a bad day at the office. I had a bad day.
Of course you do, yeah. And there's no criticism from me.
The other thing I'd say, I thought George Ray was very impressive. He just seemed to just be there at the right point every single time. We were ever in a position to try and create a chance. And, we didn't get a shot on target. Derek said it in his post-match interview. Football's a lot of the time is about finding solutions to problems, and we just didn't. It was just one of those nights.
No, it was, and the couple of refereeing decisions. The one that I thought was hilarious was, and I've watched it back, and their centre back goes up with Faz and pulls him to the ground from one of our very few corners, and then they clear it out to it comes out to Adam Mayer on the left hand side. He's just about to cross it in, and the guy's lying in the 6-yard box, and the keeper's screaming head injury, and he's holding his head. And he's lying there holding his head. And the referee calls their trainer on and he gives it's thigh injury. And I thought, now that's clever. That is clever. And I applaud that. I'm like, it's a head injury, ref, stop it. Stopped it. Oh, it's my thigh. And I'm like, it's his thigh. It's not his head. So we could have put the cross back in. But then it right in front of the away stand, it was sort of like just sort of level with the sort of edge of the 18-yard box. And he pulled it back 15 yards for a drop ball for us. And Adam Mayer was like, well, does he not have to be 10 yards away? And he was like, no, he can stand there. And he was like 5 yards away. We had to go back to Adam Smith. And it was like that. But that tickled me because I thought, well played, Barrow. If we did that, I'd be laughing. But then 15 minutes left, they withdraw all the ball boys. And those little cones with the balls on suddenly didn't have balls on anymore. And I was like, this is quality. We'd noticed, and I was like, this is quality shithouse, and this is brilliant.
Quality, it is. It's exactly that. And as we've said a couple of times on this pod, we all remember Les
doing it. Exactly. That's what we were discussing.
We were
discussing it on the way home. But like, what was brilliant, and this tickled me, and it did tickle me because it made me laugh because I thought we could play till midnight, we're not going to score. But they smashed it out, a long ball, and it went. They had the wind, and it went down that sort of open end, and it went out, and Adam ran to where the ball should have been, and it wasn't there. And it was like, oh, so he ran to the corner flag, picked the ball up, ran all the way back, put it on the spot to take the kick, and a fan threw a ball on. And I was like, oh, that's clever. That's clever. Oh, dear, there's a ball on the pitch. So Jacob Bedell picks the ball up and kicks it down the tunnel, and one of the Barrow guys kicks it back on the pitch. And I'm like, this is genius. So that's when Jacob picked the ball up and kicked it into the middle of next week because he was fed up with it. But he blew the whistle almost immediately. But I was like, I'll tell you what, they're all behind him. Ball boy's gone. Absolutely brilliant. So well played, Barrow. Congratulations. They deserve to win. There is absolutely no question.
And at least we only got one yellow card every cloud. One yellow card in a game this season is a good result.
Yeah, it is.
And it probably should have been 2.
Well, yeah. Well, and when Senior did that second foul, I was like, we were all like, because I could see him going. But there you go. But anyway, it is what it is. It doesn't matter. Moving on. Really happy that Stuart Moore's had the operation, but gutted for him that he's been playing so well in the goals. Adam Smith's been an able deputy, no issues at all. We're very lucky to have 2 such good keepers, but we're missing Stuart. Well, Stuart was first on the podcast this season. Joel, nice guy, deserves that bit of luck, and he was taking this opportunity to cement his place as a first teamer in League Two, and look what's happened to him. It's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's been very patient throughout his career, and he's got a bit of a chance to really have a good go at being number one. And so far, he was, up until his injury, he was the highest performing shot stopper in the league. His shot stopping numbers were the best in the league, and second best was actually Paul Farman, Barrow's keeper. Not that we tasted him the other night, but yeah, no, he was doing fantastically well, Stuart, and it's a real shame that he's done that in such an innocuous way. He was taking a goal kick, and he's obviously, I think it's his tendon between, I think it's his IT band or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, we said that last week. And
that
was bloody painful.
Yeah, so it's just a weird just such an innocuous thing to happen. But like you say, able deputy and Adam Smith. I heard Derek mention him a few years ago about him being like goalkeeper of the year or something like that, player of the season when he was at Northampton. So I actually did a little look into it. And when Northampton had one of their many promotions up to League One, because they seem to be constantly either getting promoted to League One or relegated from League One. But in one of their many promotions a few years ago, he was actually League Two team of the season. Along with Chris Wilder, who was the manager of the season. So, yeah.
Oh, good research. I like it.
It was good. I was quite pleased with that one.
Yeah,
also,
I like that.
It's really hard to find team of the season details from anything before 2018.
I think you could be the new Stato.
Yeah, he's always been the Stato.
Well, no. He's big X-Man, isn't he? So yeah. But yeah, so best wishes to Stuart. I hope it goes well. I hope the recovery is good. But well done, Adam. Adam has done nothing wrong. Able deputy. It's one of them things where it's one man's opportunity to take over, isn't it? And Adam's going to grab it with both hands and do what he can do. So moving on, we've got Lincoln City in the FA Cup away. And as I alluded to last week, it was 1976. We lost there in the first round 2-0 when we were in the Northern Premier League. Graham Taylor was manager, and I have statoed that. I've looked it up. We lost at St Hill Bank. I went on a Battersby's coach, and it was when they had an open side where the main stand is now. And it was a bitterly cold day, and we never got in there half. There you go. That's my memories of that. But so we were moaning. Well, actually, a lot of people have been saying we never get decent draws in the FA Cup, and I suppose you could say, when you're in the first round, you're going to get people. You're either going to get a non-league team. Yes, we had Malden and Tiptree, and we've had Dover. Now we managed to win with a penalty thanks to Adam Phillips at Malden and Tiptree, and then we got beat at Dover. But everybody else, we've played a league club. We've played Sheffield Wednesday twice, home and away. We've lost both of them. And then we had the Newport game when we went on to beat Spurs, play Spurs, which Aaron Wildig scored. But then we've got numerous games where we have shot ourselves in the foot. And I'm talking about Coventry at home, we lost. We've had Southend at home, we lost. Rochdale at home.
Did we draw against Coventry, losing the replay? We battered them at home.
We've played Coventry twice. Yeah,
over and twice. Oh.
Yeah, we have. We played them twice. So yeah. Rochdale we drew at home, won away, and then got drawn at Coventry again and lost. Dagenham and Redbridge, when we drew 0-0 away in a dull game, and then it was really windy at home, we went 2-0 up, and Jim thought it was a great idea to withdraw everybody after 6 minutes when we were 2-0 up with the wind, and Dagenham came back to win 4-2. Hartlepool we beat 3-0 at home when they were conference and we were in the league, and then we went to Shrewsbury and lost that one. Halifax we drew at home and lost the replay at the Shea. We've played Cheltenham twice. With Cheltenham we lost, and Cheltenham we lost again. Grimsby, we beat those, but then we lost in the second round to Cheltenham. And Port Vale at home we lost. Carlisle at home we lost. So looking at all the fixtures that we've had some half decent draws. Would you believe? And I've done the stats. Out of the 16 seasons, we've had 10 home draws and 6 away. So you can't complain that we haven't had the opportunities. Now, I know Lincoln away, I haven't included Lincoln in that. Lincoln away, not the easiest of games. It could be worse. We pulled, as Joel said last week, we pulled Sheffield Wednesday out of the act last year, which was, at the time, they were the highest ranked team in the first round, weren't they? So Lincoln, bizarrely, they've had a bit of an upsurge since they sacked Mark Kennedy, Joel.
A little bit. They had the infamous new manager bounce with a couple of wins straight after they sacked Mark Kennedy, but that has petered out a little bit. They drew to Exeter at the weekend and then lost at home to Oxford on Tuesday. Although that it should be said that Oxford are playing very, very well at the moment, second in the league. So. And they've got Greg Lee banging in goals for them, Oxford, at the moment.
Which is a bizarre situation.
Has
he got 5 in the last 6 games or something? Something like that.
Yeah, something crazy like that. But he's done very well with them, which is nice to see. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting with Lincoln, really. They're obviously a side who kind of they're wanting to try and maybe push on a bit in League One, but obviously it's not worked out this season under Mark Kennedy. Previously, they're still on the hunt for another permanent manager. So yeah, they're at a funny point really, and they're one of those sides that probably aren't really realistically this season going to be pushing for the playoffs. And at the same time, I can't really see them being too near the bottom of the league unless anything goes horribly wrong. So yeah, bit of a middle ground side really, and it's one of those where FA Cup is probably going to be potentially one of the big highlights of their season. So. It's entirely possible they might be targeting this game. But at the same time, we've shown that we've already played high league opposition in the Carabao Cup. We faced up against Rotherham. We did really well there. We drew after 90 minutes, unlucky to win on penalties. So we've shown ourselves capable against high league opposition this season already. So yeah, there's no reason why we can't go to Lincoln and put in a bit of a performance and maybe get a result. And yeah, it's annoying that it's not the most exciting draw. It's a tricky draw, no doubt. And also after last season as well, the two trips to Lincoln in about 4 days, which was incredibly depressing. The bus shelter as well, the lovely little away stand they've got there. So and obviously driving to Lincoln is a nightmare. So it's just how it goes sometimes. I think we used the Pollard Cup draw luck. In those 2 seasons, the promotion season, the season after. In that, obviously, we've drawn a lot of non-league teams as well that have allowed, which has allowed us to kind of get through to those good third round ties. And yeah,
there's nothing wrong with Malden. Malden and Tiptree was tricky. Buxton was tricky. The conditions were awful.
Yeah,
Solihull Moors gave us a game.
They did give us a game, but ultimately they were non-league opposition, which we beat every time.
Quiet. Not ruining me facts.
No, yeah,
exactly. The Tiptree was a beautiful day. It was sunny. It was. You can't complain about that one.
No, yeah. That was a 12 o'clock kickoff. It was on Red Button, wasn't it?
It was indeed. It was indeed.
Wasn't that Buxton that was the 12 o'clock kickoff?
Yeah, that was a 12 o'clock kickoff, but that was chucking it down.
That was horrible. Yeah,
Sideways rain.
I wasn't able to make Buxton. I was sofa bound after an operation. So I remember
that. Yeah.
I was a bit gutted initially because it was it's a direct train from Manchester. It's only about an hour, so that's a lovely little go with a few friends on the train, have a good time. I was a bit gutted to be missing out. Then I sat down in front of the TV.
What you mean is beer. That's what you mean. You mean beer.
I don't know where you're getting that from, Freez. But so instead I'm sat down in Lancaster with my parents under a couple of blankets and a dressing gown. I look at the TV and I think, as I watch the whole thing go by, I'm like, you know what?
I'm glad I'm here.
I think I'd actually rather be here.
Yeah, mother, another sandwich, please. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then, would you believe it? We scored. Cole Stockton scored with an offside goal, so we got some luck.
But you can't really hammer the linesman for that because how he saw anything all game.
No, true. Yeah. So I'll come to you, James, now, and we've managed in this is before my lifetime. We've managed to beat teams from a higher league on 3 occasions. Chester, which was 1962, I think. And then there was the more recent ones, Cambridge at home in the first round when we were conference, and Chesterfield when we won at Saltergate with Quinny's famous commentary, which is in the Football Museum in Manchester, which you can go and stick some headphones on and listen to famous FA Cup commentaries. And it's Derek Quinn commentating on Gary Thompson, which I remind Quinny of probably far too much, but it's there. He's enshrined, entombed, in football folklore. So we've only done that 3 times. Lincoln are in a higher division, despite the fact that we beat them in April at home 2-0 to keep our very slim hopes alive of survival. What are your thoughts?
As ever, more optimistic than yours. I think a couple of things. I think that Derek's record against higher ranked teams is good, and I think we've got a group of young players who couldn't give a damn whether they're playing against League One or League Two players, and have got a point to prove. And you know what happened 20 or 30 years ago is not even going to register in Derek or any of our players.
No.
Hang on, I'm just going to show you this. I've just been brought a beer by my daughter. She's hiding, but she brought me a beer, which is really kind of her. Thank you, Derek. Cheers. So I just think it's a first round of the FA Cup, and there's no reason to probably can't go again. Lincoln playing quite well. There's no reason why this should be a highlight of their season as well. But it's the first round of the FA Cup. I think as well. We said this a couple of times on the podcast previously. We've not done badly when we've got in past round 2 in the last few years.
True.
Being given the opportunity of a big team.
Tricky bit of getting past the crap. Yeah.
Yeah. Once you get past the crap, our scoring rate is pretty fantastic. Getting those big teams, and so we can get a good result, and then maybe pick up a lower league team in round 2, and then who knows, it could be away at Old Trafford in a couple of months.
I'd fancy us the way they're playing.
Oh, that'd be wonderful, wouldn't it?
It would be funny, yeah. It'd be hilarious.
Also, we played in red, white, and black before they did.
Fair point.
They nicked our kit.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. I'm not arguing. Yeah. Look at the. So it's going to be tricky. I'm erring on the side of. I'll take a draw and bring them back to our place. There is something to be said for, as we've all said, a bit of bounce back ability after a poor performance on Tuesday, because I'm sure there'll be lots of people willing to put it right. But also, it is worth mentioning that obviously Eli King got on and got some minutes after his illness, which is good. Donald Love came on and played pretty well when he came on at right back. And obviously, we've still got James Connolly, etc., who's come back to the fold. So we are in a situation here where we've probably got more strength in the squad than we had against Wimbledon. So that's a positive. It really is just a case of it's toss a coin and see what happens, isn't it? But there's no reason we can't go there and get a result. So I am remaining universally positive, despite what you may think. So go on then, James. What's going on in the world behind the scenes? Because obviously there's been a bit of news with Dale and Matt, hasn't there?
Yeah. Well, first things first, no update on ownership. Still searching for and all enthusiastically looking for somebody who wants to buy the club and take us forwards and give everybody the backing that they deserve for all the hard work that's gone in over the course of the last few years. But then that piece of news on that is really, really good. You know, Matt came in, not quite on work experience, but came in whilst studying and effectively turned himself from being a bit of help into being somebody who was an integral part of the media team formerly. I think he probably would have liked the opportunity to jump at the role the last time it was available, but at that point he had a very, very, very small baby and he still had to complete his studies. And so I'm just thrilled for him. He's done such a cracking job for the club over the last few years. He's such a decent, capable, and kind human being, and he's so hardworking. You know, I know he's from Burnley, but he feels like he's an adopted Morecambe son. So very, very chuffed for that. I think it's the right move at the right time for him. And you know, pleased for Dale too. Dale's going off to be a GM at a decent sized football club, and he's got ambitions to move up that particular path. So yeah, pleased for Dale. Congratulations to Dale, but massive congratulations to Matt. It's a richly deserved progression, and it's all been with Morecambe, which is just really nice to see.
Well, it's just worth mentioning that this podcast is enabled by, in turn, it was enabled by, first of all, Ryan Daly, then Harry Lyons, and then Dale. Before Dale actually started, Matt helped us out a couple of times in getting people in. I know he was instrumental in getting hold of the Morecambe ladies team and getting them on air. And I've been in touch with Matt already, and he's quite willing to carry on helping, etc. And he'll probably be on. I think we'll probably have him on in a couple of weeks' time just to see how it's going and to keep him. So you know, I'm very grateful to obviously Ryan and then Harry and then Dale for keeping this podcast with the people coming from the dressing room, and obviously Matt's hopefully going to carry that on. So because the good thing about this podcast is other people have said, you know, we've started the football fans panel, Shrimp's fans panel, which obviously Swids and Glenn are leading. And people are like, oh, we're not just duplicating. And quite rightly, Swids has gone on social media saying, no, you know, what we do is on behalf of the trust, and it's the insight into the club, whereas they're getting the insight from the fans, which is exactly right. But more media content is good, isn't it, James?
Oh, it's brilliant. We've gone from no podcast to 3 podcasts in a couple of years, and they're all decent. I think they've all got their place. I love what Mark and Glenn are doing, and that fan insight is really good. We've only been able to, you guys have only been able to do that 1 or 2 times on this one, because there's always, you know, that club involvement. And I think credit has to go to Dave and what he does, because he goes out and he reaches out to the opposition team and he gets their people involved. And the one that he did with the guy from Wimbledon last week was excellent. But I think they've all got their place, and it's just a sign of progression. There's just one other quick comment on that, and it's just something that has happened so many times that it's something that people should be aware of. There have been far too many occasions when I've been staggering out of the Mazuma at 10:30 on a Saturday night, having spent too much time in either JB's or the bar upstairs in the boardroom, and having had too many beers, and my dad's coming to pick me up. And as I walk downstairs past the front desk, look right, and Matt's there, and he's editing video content, and it's literally 10:30 at night on a Saturday. And that is just a testament to how hard he works, how much time he puts in. He's got down the road in Burnley, not down the corner in Bear.
No,
so, the extent to which he's worked hard for this position, but also like really, really showed talent. I mean, he was the one that produced the Return of the King video. It was fantastic. Derek came back, and he just works hard. So yeah, it's really, really good. I'm chuffed.
And like I say, that no movement on the ownership thing. There was quite a bit of consternation when Andy Holt put Accrington up for sale, and I was like, well, that's his prerogative to do so, isn't it? I think we're a completely different kettle of ball games to Barrow, for the simple fact that sorry, Barrow, Accrington. Sorry, I did say Barrow. I've got Barrow on the brain. Accrington. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, that puts us in a difficult position with Accrington because they're a famous name and blah blah blah." And I kind of feel sorry for Andy Holt because the simple fact is Accrington they're 6 miles from Burnley and 5 miles from Blackburn, so there's a Premier League team and a decent Championship side literally on the doorstep. Now I know we've got Preston 22 miles away, but it isn't the same. And we've been lucky in the fact the board have been proactive, all the media's been proactive, the ticket office, etc., etc. We've just been relegated, and the gate the other day was like 4,000 and something. We've been averaging about 3.5, and Accrington have never really got to that level, have they? And that's where we've grown and stuck. And I kind of feel sorry for Andy Holt because he's tried his best, but he must feel like he's banging his head against the brick wall, James.
Yeah, I really like Andy. I get on well with him, and I felt for him last week. It felt like it was a bit of a public airing of a lot of stress and tension, and you know, bless him, he goes on to social media and spends a lot of time, gets really involved, and then has to take himself off. And he's done it a couple of times. Maybe this is the last one. I hope not, because I like Andy. But if you were to be looking at the two clubs from a pure business perspective, and I am a businessman first, and I don't know anything about football, but from a pure business perspective, Morecambe's the best buy, it's the best pass. We've got more fans, we've got a better stadium, they have a nicer bar, but nobody buys a club because it's got a nice bar. And we are that little bit better position, which is a strange thing to say, because a few years ago I would have said our sort of rural position at sort of the extent of North Lancashire, maybe we're worse. But we prove we can draw in fans from a broader area. We prove we can draw in fans from the broader North Lancs area, and we've got a bit more exclusivity and a bit more of a hold over that. So no, I think Morecambe is the better buy. I'm not sure that Accrington being on the market makes a huge amount of difference. But at the same time, I wish Andy the best of luck because I like him. He's a good bloke, and he's done well by Accrington. So yeah, I wish them well, but Morecambe's the better buy.
And it's funny, Joel. We go on the occasional bus onto an away game, and when we go on Terry's Travel, there's two gentlemen, one from Settle, one from Hawes. We get dropped off in Morecambe, and I've got like a 5-minute drive to get home. And those two gentlemen have got an hour and 15 and an hour to get home after they've set off at 6 o'clock that morning to catch the minibus at 7 o'clock in Morecambe. And I always bump into Shap Shrimps. The man and his wife who come down, he's got 8 million badges on, who come down from Shap and people in Shap say to him, "Why do you go to Morecambe?" And he says, "Oh, and that's what we've done. We've pulled people in from all over sort of South Lakes and North Lancashire, and that's we've shown we can keep growing, Joel. Hopefully,
yeah. I think the thing with Accrington, I think you can say about having a bit of the team needs a bit of investment in the club, etc., etc. Accrington have had that Andy Holt's been put a lot into that club. He's done the training ground up, like James has alluded to. He's put in, well, not alluded to, he mentioned it. They've built a really nice
they've got
bar.
a better bar, apparently.
Yeah, they've got a great bar. They've got a big fan zone now out and that car park behind the home end. They've built basically a new stand because the bus shelter basically wasn't really fit for purpose, and they've completely regenerated that. He's done. There's been a lot done at that club that's not just boosting the playing budget, but putting things in place to try and improve the infrastructure and improve the revenue streams. And despite having done all of that, they've still struggled to get more than a couple of thousand home fans. Whereas we've had the promotion, we've had things that have improved around the ground, but not quite to the drastic extent where a new bar's been built or a new stand's been built. And we've rocketed to over 3,000 home fans at every game, despite the relegation. So I think that the last few years with Andy Holt has proven how difficult it is to get more fans to Accrington. I think ultimately geography is the factor here, isn't it? You've got Burnley one side of you got Blackburn the other side, and it's probably worth saying as well. You're not very far from Manchester at all in Accrington. You're really
No,
not
no,
far.
yeah.
You're barely a 30-minute drive to Prestwich, which is North Manchester.
And you're going past Bolton, and you can go Bury.
Yeah, Bolton's Bury.
So.
Bury's nearby. Bolton, you've got Rochdale at the other side of Manchester. So there's a lot going on there. Whereas, like, I know we've got Preston 20 miles away, but yeah, you got the whole of kind of South Lakes and a lot of North Lancashire. So yeah, it's a good like you said. I'd like to think the last few years and the work that the boards and everybody put in to do what they can to improve around the ground, despite not having loads and loads of money to play with to do that. I think the improvements that we've managed to make around the club and boost the fan base through that with not particularly massive resources, I think shows that what a good investment opportunity Morecambe might be. And obviously, with the manager at the club doing as well as he is, and his plans to take the club to the Championship, I think,
build a stand on that side.
I think we'll be well on our way soon with.
That is really important. We've got a real catchment area of 175,000. That's the population of the Lune Valley, as far out as we could reasonably reach and people could reasonably travel from, and that doesn't extend as far as I cycled up that hill, and that's further than it should be for Morecambe. But we've got 175,000 people in our catchment area, which is quite decent. And we've got a unique way of reaching out to it, because we're not just Morecambe, we're the club of the Bay. And again, with due respect to Barrow, they are in a less accessible position, even less accessible than Lincoln. It reminds me of a slightly mischievous but fun thing that a couple of years ago when we were doing the brand new Bright Tomorrow and the first season ticket campaign, and we just had to put some money aside for adverts on buses. And Ben, being a Yorkshire lad, called me and said, "Which buses should we put the adverts on?" So I literally put it up online. I was like, right, we want the bus that goes to Fleetwood. We want the bus that goes around the corner to Barrow. We want the bus that goes up to Kendal. We want the bus that goes past Garstang just to the edge of Preston. And so literally, the adverts brand new Bright Tomorrow for the best value season ticket in football went as far to the edge of our sort of catchment area as they possibly could, and as close to those teams that we're competing with as they possibly could. And that's a silly story, but it's true. And also, can you imagine Accrington trying to do that, like sending buses into Blackburn or Burnley, trying to appeal for fans to change colour? It's just not a realistic proposition.
No, but I wish them well. I've nothing against them. A lot of our fans sing "We Hate Accrington," and they were singing 862 at Barrow, by the way, which I think is we had sold nearly the 900, but obviously lots of people took the tickets back because they couldn't go on Halloween because they had kids, which I know about 5 people who took the tickets back or sold them. So, but 862 was a fantastic turnout. We made a load of noise, and it was just a shame that it was such a load of crap. But never mind, these things happen. But I do wish Accrington well. I've nothing against them. It's always been a nice, friendly Lancashire rivalry, and I just feel a bit sorry for Andy Holt. That was the point I was trying to make, but not too much, not too sorry, because as I've said before, they were claiming an injury crisis, and I went on their website and they've got 34 first team players, whereas we've got 22. So
that appears to be some of the where some of the bad blood with John Coleman has come from.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Recruiting a rather large squad and then not quite having. Quite fun.
Yeah, but fair play to them. So, have we got any progress from the trust on the coaches and stuff like that, Joel?
No, we've been speaking about it, but I think, as always, it's probably going to take a volunteer really stepping forwards who has got the time to be able to put to that, because it's something that's hard to put. It's hard to squeeze in just on the odd weeknight here and there. You've got to put quite a bit of time into it. There's a lot of chasing up coaches, chasing people for money, and all that. So it is a difficult task. We're trying to see what the options are, and anybody who is thinking that they might have time to do it and be up, it's something that might be interesting. Obviously, please do get in touch.
Please.
Please.
That was definitely a plead. And I noticed that Ian Lyon's become disability awareness officer.
Yes, no, yeah, that's been something we've just been kind of planning to put in place over the last few weeks, and yeah, it's just good to have. I know, obviously, there was a bit of obviously there was the unfortunate thing with the Exchange Hotel and a bit of a mix up about the fact that they didn't actually have they didn't have disabled access to the room that we were using. So just to try and rectify that, really, we've had somebody who's kind of taken over, focusing on that kind of thing and making sure that doing our best to make sure that those things aren't kind of overlooked in future.
That's a good thing, isn't it? Because there was a bit of a, shall we say, a storm in a teacup about that. But there you go. So that's all.
Shout out to Ian. That's a really nice position for you to have.
Oh, excuse me. I'm going to finish with the sneeze because I'm full of cold. So thank you for listening. This has been ShrimpNet number 12. Thank you, James. Thank you, Joel. Hopefully we'll come back on next week. We'll have somebody from the playing staff and somebody lovely from the boardroom to tell us, well, I didn't see that coming at Lincoln. Blimey. I'm not saying what, but, I'm just saying I didn't see that coming. It could be 5-0 to us. It could be 5-0 to them. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for watching or listening. See you next week.